Hello again and welcome back to our course on Word 2019. In this module we're going to start to discuss how you can work with non-printing characters and line spacing. And what we mean by that is that there are certain characters, so for example things like space, enter, tab, that you can't see. And what I'm going to show you in this module is how you can make those visible so that you can work with your document a little bit better. And we're also going to be taking a look at line spacing as well and how you can adjust line spacing when you're typing in your document. So the first thing I'm going to do here is we have a blank document in front of us and I'm going to set this up as a very basic letter. So I'm going to start by typing in a date. So I'm just going to start by creating a basic letter. And the first thing I want to type on the top of this letter is the date. So I'm going to type in a date. So let's say July. And as I start to type, you can see it's picked up July 25th, 2019. So if that is the date that I want, then I can just hit the Enter key and it will insert that date automatically for me. So that's a great time-saving tip there. So now I'm going to want to address this letter to someone. So I'm going to press my Enter key, which will take me down a line. And I'm going to type in to, and I'm going to put in a colon. And then I'm going to press the Tab key on my keyboard, which will give me a little bit of space in there. And what Tab does exactly is that it stops at the ½ inch mark on the ruler. So you could press Tab numerous times and it would move across ½ inch across the page each time you press it. And the good thing about using tabs as opposed to putting in lots of space to get your cursor where you need it is it ensures that everything will be lined up. So you'll see if I go underneath and I start to type something, if I press the Tab key, it's going to jump me across directly underneath where the tab was in the above line. So it just makes it a lot easier to line up things rather than pressing that space bar over and over again to move your text along. So I'm going to say to, Adam. I'm going to press my Enter key and I'm going to type the word from. I'm going to put in a colon and I'm going to press my Tab key again. And you see what I mean? It's directly lined up underneath where I have Adam. So I'm just going to type in my name underneath there. So just remember that you have those tabs when you're working in a document as well. And I'm going to show you a little bit later how you can adjust those and how you can set up your own custom tabs as well so that things line up wherever you want them to line up on the page. Now I'm going to press Enter a couple more times and I'm going to start my document. And we're going to say, call Mr. Jones to check your order. The item you want is out of stock. And will not be available to order until next week. Now, a couple of things to note there. You'll see that as we got to the end of the sentence, it just wrapped around. I didn't have to hit my Enter key. I didn't need to put a line break in there just to get that to wrap round onto the next line, which is perfect. And you'll also note that we have a little squiggly line under where it says Mr. So if I right click and look at my options, I can see there the top one is probably what I want. So Mr. Jones. So I'm going to add a little bit more text in here. If you have any more questions, please call me. I'm going to go down a couple more lines just by hitting my Enter key, and then I'm going to put regards and then my name. So we've created a very basic letter just there. And we've utilised some tabs, we've got some spaces in there, we have some enters or some carriage returns as we used to call them in the old days. But we can't see any of those. Now you might think to yourself, well, I don't actually really need to see the tabs, the spaces, but sometimes it is actually very useful. And I'll give you a couple of examples why in a moment. But there is something that you can turn on in Word which will show you all of those non-printing characters. And it's called the Show Hide button. And you'll find it here on the home ribbon. In the paragraph group, you have this little thing which looks like a paragraph marker. And when you hover over, it says Show Hide. And the dialog box says Show Paragraph Marks and Other Hidden Formatting Symbols. So if I turn that on, now look at the document, you can see what we have. So everywhere that there is an enter, you can see the little paragraph mark. You can see the little arrows which indicate that tab as well. So this is useful in situations like, for example, have you ever had it where you've printed a document and you get a blank sheet of paper at the end of your printing and you can't work out why because you don't have anything on that piece of paper? If you turn on your paragraph marks, what you'll normally find is that you have a rogue, or maybe a few of them, paragraph markers or extra enter keys on the next page, which is why that page is printing. So all you need to do is go in and delete out those additional lines. So without turning on that show hide, you wouldn't be able to see those and you wouldn't know that was what was causing that blank page to print out. So sometimes it is very useful to be able to see these non-printing characters. So I'm going to turn that off for now, just by clicking on the same icon again. And we're going to look at line spacing this time. Now what you'll notice with Word is that when you press the Enter key, so say for example like I did between to and from, you get quite a big space in between there. So that doesn't look like single line spacing, that's actually double line spacing by default. So what I want to do is I want to tidy this up a little bit. So I'm going to select all of my document or all of the text in my document. And there is a quick way of doing that, and that is the shortcut key Control A. And you'll see as I do that, it highlights everything. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to jump up to my home ribbon in the paragraph group. And this little drop down here is for line and paragraph spacing. And I can go through, and as I hover over, you'll see I get more or less space in between my lines in my document. So it's really up to you which one you want to select. Now, because I've selected my whole document, it's adjusting the line spacing according to the line spacing that was already there. So say, for example, I only wanted to adjust the line spacing in this to from area. I could just highlight that bit there. I could go up and then I could make it smaller, I can make it bigger, or I can go into line spacing options and I can really go to town with how much spacing before and after that I want. So if I don't like this space in between, I can see here in the spacing area, it's actually because of this 8-point spacing after. So I could take that down to 0, click OK, and I now have no space in between. Okay, so definitely worth having a little play around with some of those line spacing options. You'd also have a couple at the bottom here, so add space before paragraph or add space after paragraph. So again, it depends exactly what you want to do, but everything is very customizable in this area. So we've seen how we can turn off and on those paragraph markers so that we can show or hide those non-printing characters, and we've seen how we can adjust line spacing. What I want to talk to you about next is saving, so that's in the next section. I will see you then.